Brew was right all along. Albert Breer, rating that Micah's podcast was a distraction. Parsons rankled teammates in different ways, seen by some as egotistical and self-centered. Podcast created issues that went all the way up to Dak. Now, Dak himself told us that he expected the team to reach a deal with Micah, but that didn't happen. And now he's saying, you know what, not surprised. Your reaction to Dak's
Well, listen, Coach came out an hour ago and said, that he thought Dak was more or less relieved this happened. That Dak wanted to be able to take full ownership of the team. If that's the case, then that would make me think less of Dak's football acumen than I currently do. Like, I do buy the idea that Dak would occasionally roll his eyes or say to his brother or a close, confidant on offense, like, you hear what Micah said on the podcast? And that it was a pain in the ass. And you know what? That's too strong. An annoyance at times. You know what I mean? I totally buy that. I do not buy that Dak Prescott thinks it's positive at all that the Cowboys, 10 days before their season, or a week before their season started, traded away their best defensive player when he knows that every year is essentially a referendum on him. Like, at the end of Dak Prescott is the guy with the all-time bad quarterback record in the playoffs. Like, 2-5, which for quarterbacks with that many starts, it's tied for the worst record. And it would be impossible for me to believe that Dak thinks they are closer to winning this year. Now, maybe he has the super long view, but that's hard for a player. So, no, I don't really believe him.
Well, that's the key, though, that you have to not believe what he said, because Coach didn't pull that out of thin air. Like, Dak was talking about the resolution being a relief, and if Micah was still on the team, it would have been a distraction.
Well, Micah and not being signed.
Micah not being signed.
He wasn't referring to Micah being here. He's just like, look, we got to get something.
But the fact that they were not heading towards a resolution, if Micah Parsons was still there, that would have been this distraction. And that is just so hard to square the logic on. Like, I would rather have Micah Parsons the distraction, but you have Micah Parsons the pass rusher, than this situation where he's got Kenny Clark and draft picks that aren't going to help him for a couple of years. So I think this is all spin, PR, damage control. I think you called it coping earlier in the show. You traded Micah Parsons. Jerry Jones is going to have to say some ridiculous things. Dak Prescott's going to have to get up there, and he's going to have to spin it. He can't say, we're screwed. We're a 7.5-point underdog to Philly. We're going to win 6 games this year. We got no chance. So that's the best he could do.
See, I think if I understand you correctly, I think you're misreading it. I think Dak was not saying, if Micah's here, he's a distraction. And now he's gone, so we don't have to deal with it. I think he was saying, Micah here, not being under contract. I believe Dak when he said, I thought it was going to get done. And just like they did with me. I thought that Micah was going to be signed and playing in week 1. He did it with CD. He did it with me. Did it with Ezekiel Elliott. You can even go back to Emmitt Smith at some point. So I think Dak believed he'd be here and was just like, and I get it. I'm like, if I'm the quarterback and we want to have a bounce back year and our best player isn't signed and there's all this back and forth between him and the owner, it is a distraction. So, the reason I think, Nick, that Dak, like when he said, I think he's just being honest. And when he said, he was asked, are you better without Mike? He could have, Jerry said we're better, right? We're better at stopping the run. We're a better football team. Dak could have went that route. If Dak, this is where I disagree with Coach. If Dak wanted Micah out of there, he could have been the same way. Like, look, we couldn't stop the run. Yes, Micah's great at pass run, but we couldn't stop the run. We gave up a ton of points last year. And I do think we are a better team now than we were before. He didn't say any of that. He said, I can't say we're better. That's saying we ain't better without that guy.
But the Breer, I'm looking at this, and maybe this is a bad job by me. I'm looking at this in conjunction with Albert Breer report that name checks Dak Prescott as one of the people that might be, a little relieved that Micah's gone. right? They're already saying that the only person he mentions that the podcast bothered, what he writes up to,
Because we all remember
up to Dak Prescott.
him saying Dak wasn't one of the best quarterbacks.
See, I don't think if
It
it's
might
that,
not even have been that.
right. I don't know that it was
might
that.
be
I
too
just think it was just the kind
straight
of
of a line.
at large. You know what I mean? That.
Well, other Cowboys players had kind of popped up, but Dak is the name.
Right, and DeMarcus Lawrence talked about Micah when he left. Last offseason, Malik Hooker, the safety, and Micah had the issue.
It doesn't have the same pop if you say all the way up to Malik Hooker.
No,
I'm just saying. So
I buy that, but the point that I am making is that if Dak heard this news and his initial reaction was not, God dog it, then I think he's missing how vital Micah's was to their ability to actually compete in games that matter this year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, how bad could it have been?
That's
what, the reaction?
No, how
How
bad
bad could it have been with Micah? Like how much of a distraction? The guy has double-digit sacks every single year.
I
How bad could it have been?
I think Dak wanted Micah back. Do you guys disagree?
Well, I mean, I'm
These
trying to
quotes put it in
square.
question, right?
Yeah, this quote.
I don't think so.
I think the Breer article
He
in
said
this.
we're not better without him. He said, I mean, look, I can be annoyed by a guy on a podcast and still be like, we need him.
Wow, that's exactly how
want him.
Loud feels about me.
When I watched the video, it seemed like he was minimizing it. He's like, I don't feel like I need to say anything to the team. Guys are in the locker room playing ping pong. Everything's
But
about
I think
the
as
game.
the
It seemed like he
leader,
was
he's got to say, like, I don't think you want him going out there like,
Oh, what was us?
yeah, I mean,
Also, I'm Dak
Micah's
Prescott.
great.
He's got to worry about the offense. It's
Yeah,
kinda
he
like,
can't.
let
I
them
don't
do their
think you
thing.
want your leader going out. I think you want your leader going out there showing confidence, but not being silly and saying, "Oh, we're better without him." He's solid. He said, "I can't say we're better." He said, "But you know, Kenny Clark is an adult. He's a great guy in the locker room. Think he can help, but you know."
Dak is pretty flawless when it comes to
He is.
public
He
statements. Okay, that is in 3 days. What's the Packers ceiling with Micah?
That's Bob.
That's right. There you go.
I mean, that's why they traded
That's the
for him.
ceiling. Absolutely.
That is the ceiling here. You're all. I think we're all agreeing. You just have.
Well,
the great
you
label.
don't have in the playoffs, but
Well, no, I know, but their ceiling is
yes,
best team in football.
yes.
Right? Because people think Jordan Love had this.
You don't think that's the ceiling?
Oh, I don't think there's.
I don't
can't
close
be-
my eyes and see the
can't be.
Packers as the best team in football.
Jordan Love
Is that
had
like
that.
a crazy opinion?
I think that's a crazy. Now I'm not predicting them to win the Super Bowl, but you guys are saying
Hold on.
It's not even
All
a
right, now we're
possibility.
gonna hold on. Now we're gonna do something a little annoying, but that.
Oh, I love
do
it.
Can you close your eyes and see them winning the Super Bowl?
No.
Oh, okay. So
I didn't see
you.
it.
I bet you can.
No, so this is the annoying thing was I can't close my eyes and see them being the clear-cut best team in football. I could see them win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't
That's
think
all
those are
that matters.
necessarily the same thing. That's what I thought you were doing there.
You think Jordan Love is going to step on the field with Patrick Mahomes and beat him in the Super Bowl?
Well, I
You
didn't
can
think
close your
Jalen
eyes
Hurts
and see
was,
that?
buddy. And so
Well, I've seen Jalen Hurts do it once. I've seen Jalen Hurts in a Super Bowl play great.
Yeah,
and lose. So I could see. I clearly say, I
I've
could see it
seen
going. You hold on to the
Jordan
football instead
Love
of fumbling it. Okay,
go
yeah.
into Dallas where they hadn't lost in 16 straight games.
Shocker. Dallas
and
lays
put
an egg in the
48 on them. As in his first year as a starter.
Okay, Micah Parsons was on that team.
He
was on that defense.
Was on that
Was on
Now
that.
okay.
I mean, I guess we've seen Jordan Love have that 9-game stretch where he was 21 touchdowns and 1 pick. Looked like he could win an MVP. Last year they were 3rd in turnover differential. They were 7th against the run. 7th against the run's gonna be worse for their defense. Yeah, the ceiling is the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I assume they're not going to hit their ceiling. Most teams don't.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm ceiling.
I knew what Brew's answer was going to be. I was a little curious what Danny's answer was going to be because he hates the Packers so much, but he also hates being wrong a little bit more.
That's right.
Which is in conflict here. So I'm shocked that you don't think that's their ceiling. You
don't make the trade,
I
right?
think that if I were to just very quickly, cursory, teams whose ceiling is winning the championship. Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, obvious. Eagles, Lions, obvious. Rams, Packers. Trying to see if there's Washington. To me, those are 8 obvious ones,
they have the
and
fifth
then
best odds.
and right, and
Well,
then I
Tampa
could
Bay, if you got
right.
one.
I knew I was leaving one out. Tampa Bay. I think some would have San Francisco. I think about a third of the league is their ceiling. That's 10 teams.
Okay.
Is you know what I mean? Is the Super Bowl. Where I think Micah changes things is, I did not believe they could come January win a low-scoring game. I think now maybe they can. I thought, and one of my reasons of skepticism before this trade brew was I'm not as high on Jordan Love as you are. You know what I mean? I do think he's a big delta quarterback right now as far as high highs and low lows. And do I trust that he could have 4 straight really good playoff games? The Eagles last year, I didn't think they needed that from Jalen, and by the way, they didn't. You know what I mean? Those first 2 playoff games, Jalen's job was don't make mistakes. Right. Last 2 playoff games, he was excellent, but we knew they could win different ways. I think now with Micah, you have a guy who can flip a game defensively, like what Aaron Donald was able to do for the Rams. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's an overstatement.
I don't either. I mean, I prepared this. Like, the Packers' defense last year was pretty great, except when they played the great teams. Like, if you throw that in there, rest of the NFL, those numbers on the right absolutely is a Super Bowl caliber defense. And now you add Micah Parsons to it. So can Micah Parsons, when you play the great quarterbacks, to your point, you're playing the good teams in the NFC, you need 3 or 4 good games. I'm with you. I think Jordan Love is going to be turnover prone. He has been. But you add Micah Parsons to a top 10 defense from last year, the margin for error for Jordan Love improves.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Who are your NFC teams whose ceiling is the Super Bowl? Is it just Philly and Detroit?
Coach had him leaning Bears, I felt like.
No.
Yeah, probably.
Just
maybe
Philly
I'm
and
just
Detroit.
maybe I'm just like
Captain East.
Philly and Detroit. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. I'm not as. I just am not as enthralled with the Packers as everybody else is.
I mean,
I feel
were
like
a
I've been
very
burned.
good team last year. They won 2 games with Malik Willis playing quarterback.
Malik Willis played pretty good. He
They
played
just
pretty well
ran
in
the
those games, and Matt
football.
LaFleur
That's
is
all.
good. I get it. Here's the other thing from sitting in this chair.
And again, I'm not enthralled with them either. I had them the 7th seed.
I have, and again, I don't really love doing intra-sport comparisons, but I'm just telling you, I do feel like we suffer from recency bias or recency.
Dame Lillard trade?
Yeah, exuberance, where something happens like, well, now, like I don't know. We do get a little bit excited when a move happens. We're like, that's it. That's
Well,
going to
look at
happen.
last
Oh,
year.
Lakers on the Lakers. Lakers to the championship. It's like, all right, let's
what
just
about
take a breath.
Saquon?
But there wasn't yeah, that's a good one.
Saquon goes.
No,
in.
But that was an unconventional take that he was going to have a CMC.
Right.
I
That's
mean,
why
I was
so-
the only
It
one
wasn't
that
like
saw it, but
not everybody was like,
it was obvious
oh,
to
start
me.
printing the T-shirts. Same with Derrick Henry. Nobody's like, oh, that's going to 100% work.
No, but
everyone's like, this will 100% work. It's going to be a huge.
because I don't think
and probably
I
will. I'm
don't
just
think
a little
star
burned by
pass
it.
rusher doesn't work. Like I think this
On
is
an already
I think
great
this is
defense.
really just
Or
a
good,
question
very
of
good.
how good did you see the Packers being before? Like Bruce saw the Packers being
Winning the
good,
division.
but winning the division before, so this was enough to take them over the top. Danny had them out of the playoffs, so this is enough to get them in the playoffs.
That's fair.
You know, and so you probably had them fighting
Playoff
for
adjacent. No, I see.
a wild card,
Yeah.
and so that's it.
I also
Yeah.
think Mike is going to benefit from Green Bay, where it's just football. I mean, he went to Penn State. He didn't go to USC or some place where there's a ton of stuff going on. And he's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Like, I think he can be in a small town and be fine.
He'll be great. He will be great. The Packers, more debate.
Okay, you weren't saying that when your head was on the desk.
He will be
He
great.
didn't pick him to make the playoffs, though. Don't get it twisted.
That's
he still
true.
didn't put him in the playoffs. He just said they're not going to finish last.
All right, talking
past
about
Minnesota.
Texas, Ohio State. Arch Manning era started off with a dud. Completed 57% of his passes, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, 7 points, failed tush push. Here's Joel Klatt's take. Take a listen.
It's important when talking about Arch Manning that we throw out the last name. Because if you throw out the last name, then you lessen your expectations a little bit. And I alluded to this even before the game, These were unfair expectations. He had never thrown a pass outside of Austin. So did he play well? No. No, he didn't play well. But that's to be expected. Starting on the road your first time is hard. Doing it against that Ohio State team and in that environment, almost impossible.
Okay, what did you make of Arch's 2025 debut?
I 100% agree with Joel. It's what I was saying before the game. And I think that this deification of, man, Matt Patricia invented the exotic blitz to college football.
Good job.
No, I think he did do a good job.
Offensive coordinator.
I think that is, I honestly think he did a very good job, and also it's a way for people to cover their own Arch Manning takes.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? It's not that I at least in the short term, overrated this kid. It's that Matt Patricia is, a combination of Dick LeBeau and Vince Lombardi.
They also knew Matt Patricia was the DC.
Correct.
Before the game. That was publicly available knowledge.
Yes.
Danny, to Joel's point, I honestly believe is if his name was not Manning, the point spread would have been different. I think if it would have been number one recruit from a couple years ago who hasn't played, yet, starting on the road in Ohio State, there's no chance that it's going back and forth between 1.5 point favorite, 1.5 point dog. I think everybody, I don't want to say drank the Kool-Aid because it sounds like I think he'll never be good. But I thought it was a huge ask, and one of the reasons that I am so certain Caleb is going to be great is because he's one of the guys I saw dropped into an environment like this as a true freshman and be awesome, being dropped into the Red River Shootout at 19 and playing great. I just think it's so rare and so difficult that I'm not shocked that Arch seemed nervous, which is what he seemed to me, just flat nervous.
I mean, the first pass of the game, he short arms it.
Right.
It was like a shockingly bad pass. And yeah, if his name was Arch Jones, he certainly would not be the favorite for the Heisman Trophy.
I don't know about that.
It's a good name.
Oh, Matt Jones. Matt Jones' cousin.
Yeah, so I thought
Actually, you're probably right.
you'd love him.
Oh, Matt Jones' cousin.
Arch Smith.
Yeah.
It was really disappointing, though, because so much of this was about pomp and circumstance and the last name, and now let's see it. But now, I mean, Archie, his grandfather, said, and I know Arch walked it back, he's like, I think he's going to be there for 2 years. We could have 25 more games of Arch Manning in college this year and next year. And so what I thought was fascinating about this was we've treated this kid like he was a basketball prospect. It's totally common for a high school recruit before they really play any meaningful college basketball to be talked about as the number one pick in the NBA draft. Happens every couple of years.
It never happens in football.
Never. Like Trevor Lawrence, maybe a smidge, Jimmy Clausen, maybe a smidge, but it really never happens until you do something in college. This kid has never done anything in college, and his family namesake actually suggests we have 2 more full years of this. So
Did he say that after the game?
No, Archie said it 2 weeks
yeah,
ago.
but so I think a lot of people, because of the hype, because of Ohio State, because of the last name, because of the Heisman Trophy, we wanted it to be true. And maybe it will be, but we're at the beginning of the book, not the end of it.
Yeah, look, Joel is right, but think about it. If you ignore the last name, take off the last name, his stock plummets.
Yes.
So, are we even talking about him? I mean, you said it yourself, that it wasn't like he was lighting up the best high school opponents in the country. And so he has benefited. And I actually think he's going to be good and an NFL quarterback and eventually maybe live up to the hype. But he's benefited from that last name his whole entire career. And so it's just impossible to ignore it. But if you do, what is he?
Christina, before we go, do we have that Ohio State graphic on how dominant Ohio State has been? Okay.
Against top 5 teams lately.
Yeah, so the other story that's kind of flying under the radar here is to go into Columbus. You are playing the defending national champions, and Ohio State has been just beating top 5 teams consistently. Now, granted, they've gotten an opportunity
they weren't a top 5 team. They were bad.
To play a top 5 team because of the playoff, but they've just been crushing teams. So I don't know. I lean towards us giving, here it is. These are some legendary runs and now Ohio State has it all packed in because of the playoffs. But when you say, oh, by the end of the year, are we going to look back at this Arch Manning game like, yeah,
See,
he was
that's
the
where,
first one to, get into the
and
buzzsaw of Ohio State.
So that's where I don't think, and I know we got to go. I think there will be, and I don't have Ohio State's next 3 games committed to memory. I think they're going to go up against a future undrafted free agent quarterback who's a 4-year college starter who's going to look fine. Not beat them, you know what I mean, but going to look. I think it's the
look better than
right.
Arch
And I also thought Coach's point that the fact that Arch is a traditional pro-style passer might have actually helped Patricia in this game, as opposed to Patricia's first game against a kid that wants to throw the ball 12 times and run the ball 15.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.